Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome into another edition of GC Live. I'm your host, Jack Veltri, and I will be joined by Ethan Carter momentarily here. Don't worry, he's coming. He's coming. He's just got some work stuff going on, so he will be here. And speak of the devil, there he is.
There we go.
What's up, man? You all good?
Yeah, man, all good. You know, I'm an important man at my old job. They asked me to do something right before I went on for my lunch. So, but no, all good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. It's been a busy last 24 hours or so, actually, last few weeks, because my background is obviously different because I'm in my new place. I'm in Irmo now. So
Nice.
Caroline and I, we rented out a townhome here in the area. So yeah, behind me here is all sorts of stuff. This is just the kitchen area. So we moved.
Very nice.
My family came down yesterday, and we moved everything from my current apartment to this place. My lease is up at my current place in the city on Wednesday. So
There you go.
Yeah, I was calling we have to get my couch cleaned. We have a lot of moving parts going on, but I'm doing good. And Adam says, "Don't hurt your back." Dude, I woke up this morning, my body was hurting, my shoulder's killing me, my legs, I'm tired. Moving is not for the faint of heart. So I hope I don't have to do it for a few more years. But yeah, man, I'm doing good. Otherwise, we have got a lot to get into today.
Yeah.
As the MLB Draft was this weekend while all this other stuff was going on. And a few Gamecocks were selected. So we're going to talk a lot about that. We'll recap the draft, what it means, what's next for South Carolina. Do these guys end up signing? And one important addition of a newcomer joining the team we thought was going to be drafted, but ultimately wasn't, and he'll be coming to South Carolina. So we're going to talk all about that and so much more coming up in just a second. But real quick, let me tell you guys about our presenting show sponsor, Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you are in the market to buy a home, need help with your mortgage, any of those housing needs that can create any confusion for you, or you just don't know where to start, Clint is going to get you on the right track. He'll take you through the process step by step, show you how things are done, clear up any confusion you may have, and so much more. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now, so he's a veteran at this point in his life, and he is a lifelong Gamecock fan, a longtime supporter of Gamecock Central and all of our GC Live program. He's the presenting sponsor of this show each and every week, so we thank him for that. Give him a call, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597, or go to ClintHammond.com for more information. Thank you, Clint. All right, buddy. We've got a bit to get into as the MLB Draft was this weekend, like I said. Rounds 1 through 4 were on Saturday, and then on Sunday we had rounds 5 through 20. And before we even get started, did you see the clip of Rob Manfred on Saturday butchering Rock Chalowski's last name?
I did. As the commissioner of Major League Baseball and the guy who is pretty routinely, mocked to go 1 or 2 in this draft, you figure he would have got up there and known how to say his name. Real poor showing, but that also moment otherwise for him, and it's just real unfortunate that biggest moment of his life to date is messed up at that
for the number 1 overall pick. The guy that I think for like a year now we've known he's probably going. If he's not going number 1, he's probably going within the top. Like if the White Sox didn't take him, the Rays are probably taking him with the next pick. Because they took Grady Emerson, high school shortstop. I thought was gonna go number 1. He ended up going number 2. So it's just like, how do you get that wrong? And it bothers me because it continues so many problems with baseball. All right, you're trying to grow the game, you're trying to keep up with the NBA and NFL, even though you're behind. But stuff like this happens, and it's like, what are we doing? And then, I think during like the 3rd or 4th round on day 1, they have like construction crews cleaning up the set while they're talking about picks, and then I mean, you got the futures game going on during the draft yesterday, during the day when it could have just been at night in the primetime slot. It's just Major League Baseball is its own worst enemy when it comes to promoting the game.
Yeah, they've tried to turn this week into an event, which I do agree with. But this isn't the first year that they've been doing this, so you would think that they would have a little better handle on all the moving pieces and whatnot. But they continue to show us that they do not, and that is why I'm very happy we get to cover our guys and not have to worry about the shenanigans from Major League Baseball, other than just being an annoyed fan every now and then.
And Adam, yes, I'm sure what Rob Manfred did was he practiced Chalowski's name, like walking up to the podium, like, all right, Chalewski. No, wait, it's Chalowski. It's not even a hard name to pronounce. It's like if it's like one of these foreign guys or something that has like a really complicated last name, okay, I can give you a little bit of slack for messing it up. But it's Chalowski with an O, not a U. It's wild to me. It's wild to me. We will get into South Carolina side of things now. There was no action on day one for the Gamecocks, but day two on Sunday, there were 5 Gamecocks drafted, 2 more, I guess 7 in total if you want to include Jake McCoy and Alex Philpott, who I guess we can touch on that real quick. So they obviously were with South Carolina in 26, but they both transferred out. So like on Gamecock Central, we didn't have stories written for Philpott and McCoy. I mentioned it in the draft recap story today that they were selected, but they're no longer Gamecocks. So there's no need to really include them. But Philpott went to the Rays with the 473rd pick in the 16th round. Blue Jays took McCoy with the 552nd pick in the 18th round. I will say, I'm not surprised that Philpott got drafted, but I'm surprised Jake ended up going 18th round. Like, he was borderline a 19th round pick as a guy that was a top borderline top 150 draft prospect. I know he struggled. His numbers aren't great, but the potential's really there. And he was hurt this entire year. I mean, is there anything you can really attribute to why he was picked so late? Because it just feels like, I mean, this is a guy that was probably supposed to go in the top 5 rounds, but ends up being one of the later picks in this draft.
Yeah, so my only read on it, and we can kind of get into this, when it comes to like the overall picture of, some of the guys that got drafted by, or that are going to be on campus and hopefully in 2027. But my read on it, and I don't have any inside information on this, is Jake probably had a figure that he's looking for, and teams weren't maybe as comfortable giving that to him, so the way it works with the baseball stuff, I think it's the first 10 rounds slot value is assigned. And guys can sign for a little bit more, or a little bit less. I don't know if they can sign for more, but they have value. Guys after that is 150,000 flat. Now, they can go over that if teams have money left over. So what I envisioned, probably what happened with Jake, is he had a number higher than 150. Teams weren't sure if he was going to sign. So they kind of pushed that can down the road. And who took Jake? I'm sorry. Who
the Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays. The Blue Jays probably had conversations with their first 17 picks. And maybe there are a couple guys that decided that, they probably weren't going to sign, or they're going to sign for a little bit less, and they could give Jake a little bit more money trying to make a run at him. That would be my kind of read on the situation is, maybe the Blue Jays had some extra money left over and they took a run, and just other teams weren't prepared to give Jake that money without, seeing him pitch in 18 months. So that's really my only guess on that.
Do you think he ends up signing? I mean,
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, 18th round pick. He could definitely do. He's gonna have 3 years of eligibility left. So I mean, he should, because he hurt this year, and then with the 5-for-5 thing now with the NCAA, he would have 2 more years after that. So I mean,
when did he have surgery?
He had it in maybe like late January, early February, I think. But also,
yeah,
he is.
Go ahead.
He is 21 years old, so there is that to think about. Of like, you can kick the can down the curb for another year. You'd be 22 next year's draft. You're also hoping you can get picked higher, but what if you have a bad year? I mean, I don't know.
Well, and if rehab doesn't go great, I mean, again, if he had surgery in February, you're about 12 months out when games start. He's not. I would not believe he's going to be ready to pitch in competitive college games in February. So then you're looking at more like March, April, just to be safe. So I you know what, I'm talking about a little bit more. I kind of rolled back. I could see Jake definitely, wanting to get his career started, have the rehab under the supervision of a team that's going to be not trying to rush him back to throw meaningful innings and possible postseason games. So if I had to make a wager on it, I would probably say Jake ends up in the Blue Jays organization this year.
Yeah. So we'll see on that. But again, just wanted to bring those guys up because they were at South Carolina in 2026. Yep. But there were 5 Gamecocks ultimately selected yesterday. You got Will Whelan, left-handed pitcher that transferred from Minnesota. He went in the 13th round to the Texas Rangers. Miguel Hugas, 410th overall to the Baltimore Orioles. He is a Mercer transfer. They have a ton of transfers, this team. Ant Phillips, the only current Gamecock still with the team that got drafted yesterday, 15th round to the Tampa Bay Rays. Ethan Sutton, transfer from USF and Georgia, went in the 16th round to the LA Dodgers. And then the 4th to last pick of the draft was Connor Schaus to the Seattle Mariners. So, yes, there you go there. Although, aren't you you're a Yankees fan, though? Like, what's the deal there?
My wife's a big Mariners fan. My wife's family's from
that's
Pacific Northwest. So, and Julio Rodriguez is my favorite player. So.
Understandable. Totally understandable then. So 5 players drafted yesterday. Now we get into the big question that everyone probably has here. Okay, which of these guys are going to sign? So we don't know for sure yet. Now we do know there was a tweet that went out yesterday that the Mariners director of amateur scouting brought up the fact that Connor Schaus is not likely to sign with the team. And I was a little surprised he went in the 20th round. I thought with him, I thought he was going to go much earlier, but I figured South Carolina was going to get him back. I was a little surprised he went 20th round. We'll see. Nothing official is out yet, but I would imagine he's going to be back at He's going to be at South Carolina for 2027, improve that draft stock, have another good season, get picked much higher this time around. The other 4 guys, I think you look at Whelan, Hugas, and Phillips, I feel like are going to be definites to go. Don't know that for a fact, but just based on what I hear and what makes sense here, like if you're getting picked that high, and again, it's 13th, 14th, and 15th round, I feel like they're going to go. Sutton's an interesting one, Ethan, because he was a guy that I thought was going to go a little bit higher. I was thinking maybe like 10th round, maybe like a little bit later. But he fell all the way to the 16th round. Now he's going to have, I believe, 3 years of eligibility left, at least 2. So he's a guy that has some wiggle room to come back if he wants. Could have a really good season at South Carolina, get picked a lot higher.
Yep.
I think he's a guy that's a little bit more up in the air. I don't think it's as cut and dry, but I think Whelan, Hugas, and Phillips are probably all going to go. Your thoughts on everything I just said there?
Yeah, I definitely. I think you got a great read on that. I think the 3 pitchers you mentioned, Amp, Hugas, and Whelan, I think those guys are more than likely gone. To kind of piggyback off the point I was making when we were talking about Jake, guys usually get picked now, especially in the first and up until like the 15th, 16th round, those guys are getting picked or generally signing because again, it's not 40 rounds like it was when I was coming out. Yeah, I mean, 15 years ago, the MLB draft used to be 40 rounds. So guys, you typically aren't just taking flyers on guys anymore, and then if he doesn't sign, he doesn't sign. So generally, these teams have a good idea of if guys are going to sign or not. With pitchers, it is always just kind of if they're willing to give you the money and give you an opportunity, it's not the worst thing in the world to go. With Sutton, if he was drafted by anybody other than the Dodgers, I would feel pretty good about him coming back. The Dodgers have an incredible development system.
They're so good. As much money as they spend, Ethan, we both know this. They also have so much good homegrown talent to where, they can turn a random guy that comes in through the draft, late rounds, whatever, into a stud. So I agree with you on that. Continue.
They have one of the best pitching factories in the minor leagues. So I truly feel if Ethan Sutton had gone anywhere else, I'd probably put the odds of him coming back at like 65%, maybe even 70%. Well, like you said, I think it's a true 50-50 toss-up. It's kind of whatever he's, how that money shakes out. Is there going to be a little leftover bonus pool money for him? And then same with Connor Schaus. I feel very good about him coming back. It would take somebody in the first like 4, 5, 6 rounds that the Mariners drafted not getting signed, and then the Mariners giving him that money. That would be the only thing I could see Connor Schaus not coming to the campus. So the 4 pitchers, I wouldn't be surprised if all 4 sign. I feel really good about Connor coming back. And then there's one other guy we lost.
Tyler Pitzer. He I was about to mention him. We'll get back to the other guys in a second because we do have a little bit more to talk about with those guys potentially. Pitzer last night, he didn't get picked. He didn't get drafted. Thought like, okay, like that means he's probably coming here. But the thing about the draft, it's not really over until the UDFA deals come out, which is the undrafted free agent deals that teams sign with players that were not drafted. Tyler Pitzer will forego his last year of eligibility at South Carolina to go sign with the San Diego Padres. So he will go to the minor league system, be with the team there, and then try to work his way up to the MLB. I don't blame him, honestly. He had a really good year with Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't get drafted, quite honestly. And I think his numbers from 25, which were really bad at South Carolina, I don't think that was an indication of who he is as a pitcher because he had one bad outing against Auburn, and that screwed everything up numbers-wise. So the guy's been a very consistent pitcher throughout his career. It makes sense for these guys, right? Because Pitzer he's probably 21 years old. Let's make sure. Sure. Yeah, he's 21 years old. He turned 21 on March 7th. So get the clock started now. Go through the development, do what you got to do. Makes sense. Does it stink for South Carolina that you're not getting him next year now? Yeah, but as we'll talk about here shortly, you have pretty good pitching depth, and I think you're still going to go out there and get a few more guys in the portal.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised that Pitzer, 1, didn't get drafted, and then 2, signed an undrafted free agent deal. Because in theory, you figure that would be available next year as well. But to your point, it's kind of like we talked about last week. Some guys are just ready to get their professional career started. The money's pretty, comparable now between NIL stuff and what minor leaguers are going to be making and signing bonuses and whatnot. But when it's comparable like that, some guys are just, like I said, truly ready to. They're pretty close to graduating, and they're just ready to take that next step with their professional careers. So, but yeah, I was definitely surprised. We got through the draft. I saw the names, and I was like, all right. I think I texted you. I was like, man, this draft couldn't have gone any better for South Carolina. And then, about 20 minutes later, I saw your tweet saying that, Tyler had signed an undrafted free agent deal. yeah, like I said, that was clearly the biggest surprise of the draft for me, or the two draft days. But yeah, I think they definitely have some work to do now in the portal about bringing in some arms. Like I said, which is why we talked about they built up a lot of depth early in the class. But I think, with Tyler signing and possibly losing the other pitchers, they're down to like 20. I think they're down to like 20 transfers coming in now. So yeah, there's definitely some more room to bring some guys in.
So the 5 guys that ended up getting drafted. So again, Schaus, I would wager to say he's probably coming back.
Yep.
Sutton, we'll see. Phillips has 1 year of eligibility left, so I think this is the time to go for him. You guys, I had heard previously that if he got drafted, he's probably going to sign. And then Whelan's having a tremendous summer at the Cape. He's got like a .50 ERA. That probably helped out a little bit to get him a 13th round pick, because he didn't have best numbers at Minnesota, but getting picked 13th round. I think all 3 of those guys end up signing, which right now that would leave you with, if those 3 signed and everyone else came back, you would have 30. Let's see. You'd have 29 players on the roster. No.
Yeah, you got
you'd have
Pitzer's gone too.
You'd have 30 players on the roster, with Pitzer being already out of the equation. So 30 players on the roster if those – no, I'm sorry, 31 players on the roster if those 3 guys left. Math is not my specialty. But anyway, so we'll see. If you were to lose all 5 guys, you have 28 guys remaining on the roster. If all 5 come back, doubtful, you'd have 33. And the only one you'd lose right now is Pitzer. We'll see on those guys. The thing is, like you mentioned earlier, Ethan, there's no slot value for those guys. It's only for the first 10 rounds. So whatever money like they have left, they kind of just they break it up and use it on all the guys. Is that correct?
Yeah, what I think is it's like a minimum 150K. I believe that is what it is. And then if there's any left over, they can go over that.
Okay.
I believe. Jamie Radford, Big Spur, did a nice write-up on it. If you guys, if you're not subscribed, you should do that. But if you are, Jamie did a nice breakdown on the Big Spur, kind of talk about the slot value stuff. So go check that out. But yeah, from my understanding, it's about 150K. And then they can, like I said, any bonus pool left over from the slot stuff is available to give to guys after the 10th round.
So the deadline for signing, I know we have a question about that in the chat. All picks have until 5 p.m. on July 27th to sign with their new teams. So that is 2 weeks from today. So, And from my understanding, South Carolina should have a pretty good idea of what those guys are doing well before then. So again, we may see some of that stuff come out, reported. Guys maybe announce it themselves. Maybe the team, the pro teams. Typically, the pro teams will also announce the guys that they're signing from the draft.
Yes,
so that should all.
We saw a bunch of that over the weekend. We saw a bunch of people saying, "Yep, this guy's signed." It's already done.
And again, if you're getting picked, it's one thing if you're getting picked pretty early on. If you're getting picked in the top 10 rounds and there's slot value there, yeah, you're going. But if you're picked a little later, I mean, it depends on the situation. Schaus,
you're waiting. Yeah, I mean, you're waiting for those guys in the first 10 rounds to sign or not sign, because then there's extra money. So yeah, to what I think you were going to say, the guys that we're talking about, there's going to be a little bit of a waiting period. Some might sign kind of pretty quickly, but those guys are going to wait to make sure the first 10 picks for their respective teams are signed, and then they'll negotiate and they'll do their thing. But yeah.
And the other part of it is, Ethan, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Mm-hmm. Typically, I feel like the teams are not trying to waste picks, right? Very rarely are there situations where I think like the Braves had some. I saw this clip on this guy a few days ago that I had totally forgotten about that he existed. The Braves had like a first round pick on this one right-handed pitcher from like 2018, and he ends up having some arm issues in his physical. He ends up not signing with the Braves, ends up going to Japan. So there are situations like that, or like Kyler Murray when he got picked by the A's a handful of years ago, and then he ends up going to play football. So there can be occasions where teams end up wasting picks, but it's not like it's intentional. Like they're getting in, like teams are getting in contact with these guys, making sure, hey, we're going to draft you. Are you going to sign with us? And if so, they're going to pick them. If not, I'm sure they move on to the next guy. But
yes,
yeah, they're not trying to waste picks. Now, in the later rounds, yeah, you can take a gamble, like with the Blue Jays, taking a gamble on McCoy. No idea if he's actually going to sign. He may want to end up going back to school, get a higher pick, or he may just be ready to start his pro career. But in the later you go, the better odds you have of bringing a guy back. It's a little different, I would say, with like Whelan, Hugas, and Phillips, who may just be ready to get their pro career started here since they were picked within the first 15 rounds.
Yeah, exactly. I would say pretty much rounds 1 through 16, teams are picking guys that they are confident they can sign or at least feel pretty good about it. Because again, they chop the number of rounds in half. The teams just don't have as much of a, all right, well, we're not signing. We'll take this 7th round guy because maybe we feel okay, but that's all right. We're going to draft a guy in the 27th round who we have marked pretty similar. And if 7th round guy doesn't sign, we'll sign him. It's not quite that. It's not quite that freewheeling that it was with only 20 picks or 20 rounds. So yeah, but I would definitely say rounds like 1 through 16, teams feel really confident they can get it done. 17 to 20, that's when teams are kind of taking flyers on guys, see if they can convince them, hey, we got a little bit extra money, come sign, come start your pro career. So yeah, I would say, like I said, up till the 16th round. So yeah, I definitely, I haven't said Amp's name yet, but Amp did exactly what he came to South Carolina to do. He became a weekend starter. He had like I said, numbers don't exactly bear it out, but he pitched like the best guy on the staff, and then he went and got drafted. And I would assume he is going to sign. And that is all. That's what he came to do. I wish I wish the team would have won a little bit more around him, so he could have really enjoyed his experience here. But those are the kind of things that you like to see. Is that guy came from upstate, came to campus, and then got drafted, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, totally. And thank you, Adam. Carter Stewart is his name. He was a 8th overall pick in 2018 by the Braves. Had a wrist injury. Braves offered a signing bonus below the slot value, so he did not sign. And he's been pitching out in Japan ever since in the Nippon, or the NPB. So as we continue here, we have got a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about what this means with the portal. We're going to talk about Elaine Gomez Guadino right after we get into a few quick ad reads here with our other presenting sponsors. Zen AI is the home of vibecasting. It's a new way to capture and share conversations. They help anyone turn a conversation into something worth sharing, whether it's a podcast, reel, TikTok post. No production skills are required. The great thing about Zen AI is that it's portable. You can use it through your phone. It's produced. An AI producer will be able to make the editing process much simpler for you. And best of all, it's quick. Zen AI is currently in invite-only beta. So you join the waitlist today for a chance at early access by going to zen.ai to sign up, or head to our show notes on this video. They're in the description with a direct link. Thank you, Zen AI. And then our other presenting sponsor is going to be good friends over at Rytech Electric, which is a locally owned, based in Lexington company that has been serving the Columbia and Midlands area since 2007. So with Rytech, whether it's a last-minute repair before move-in or a full wiring package on your latest build, Rytech partners with the Carolinas' top production home builders and keeps everyday homeowners powered as well. A flickering light or dead outlet can derail your morning routine. Their same-day service and 1-year warranty mean you'll never hunt for extension cords again. From turnkey new construction wiring to fast, friendly service calls, Rytech has you covered every step of the way. Every electrician is a Rytech employee, not a subcontractor. They tell you the price before any work starts, so that way there's no surprises. So give them a call at 1-803-303-8274. Again, the number to call Rytech Electric is going to be 1-803-303-8274. A real person will pick up, and you can tell them that Gamecock Central sent you. So thank you to both of our other presenting show sponsors. All right, let's not bury this anymore. We got to talk about the biggest piece of news from yesterday, and it wasn't even anyone from South Carolina that got drafted. Alain Gomez-Guadino, a switch-hitting catcher from Venezuela originally. He's got a great story. He fled to the United States with his family 3 years ago. He moved out to Scottsdale, has been playing high school baseball out there, and is rated as the number 3 overall catcher in the country in the class of 2026 by Perfect Game. He was one of 2 high school prospects to stay committed to South Carolina when the coaching changes happened. And credit to this staff at South Carolina because they did everything they could to make him happy. And at the end of the day, he's coming to college. This was a little bit of a surprise. I had been told leading into the draft that his name would be the least surprising if he signed pro. He ended up not getting picked. And honestly, by the early stages of day 2 of the draft, he wasn't getting picked in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. And then he announced on his social media that he will be coming to school for next season. So, huge deal right there. The Gamecocks get a big-time catcher, the catcher of the future potentially, if they can hang on to him for the next 3 years. But this is a massive deal for South Carolina for sure as they get their prized high school commitment to come to campus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's at a position of need, position that has, been a little maligned the last, since Cole Messina, left campus. It's one of their biggest high school recruits that they've had in quite some time. I'm thrilled. I mean, it's like you said, that was the one that we were all kind of holding our breath on, looking at those early rounds of, all right, is his name going to get called? Yesterday afternoon, I was doing some stuff around the house and I just had the draft playing on, in the background, just kind of listening. And I heard another high school catcher's name get called. I think it was about the sixth round. And I was like, all right, that's interesting. Our man hadn't gone yet. So it is definitely a big win for this coaching staff. And now I can probably say catcher's the position I look forward to the most seeing and talking about, for this upcoming Gamecock team. I think you've got a great stable of guys, all that do different things well. And I think you've got a really rounded out position group. And I'm just super excited to get a player of this caliber on campus and shows high school recruits, hey, come to South Carolina. We get guys like this to come on campus, and he's got the potential to play himself into a first-round pick, as we saw with some of the guys that have gone the last few years. Top-hitting catchers in college baseball. So I am very excited that Guadino is going to end up on campus.
It's a big deal. Really is. I really thought he was going to get drafted, go pro, all that sort of stuff. But again, a lot of catchers were getting picked in the early rounds, and a lot of them were from college. Some high schoolers were picked, but his name was not popping up. And, eventually I think it got to a point where it's just it's getting later and later. Let's decide to go to school for the next 3-4 years and then go from there. So, yeah, I mean, he's still a young guy. He's only 18 years old. And he's going to have you hope he's here for 3 years. You hope he's not coming here next season and then he plays really well and then team's not very good. So he decides to leave for somewhere else in the transfer portal.
Sure.
But I think it does say a lot that, again, massive credit to this new coaching staff. They were able to hang on to him. Like, if there was any player you wanted to keep from this high school recruiting class, again, so many guys ended up leaving that were from the Maneri era and whatnot. But he and Walker Cox were the only guys to stick around. And the fact that they were able to hang on to him, a guy that was viewed as a top 10 round draft pick, that's a huge deal. Yep. I think I said on the radio this morning, I think it's probably the biggest win that this staff has had so far. Sure, they brought in a lot of good guys from the transfer portal, but like, that's one thing to bring guys in from the portal. It's another to keep a guy that wasn't even committed to you originally. So,
yes,
massive credit to this staff for doing that. And honestly, I mean, getting a little lucky at the same time with the fact that teams weren't picking him. So, yeah, he'll be here in the fall, and he'll be in a room that consists of right now himself, Bryce Eastep, and then Andrew Costello. When you look at that room, again, don't know a ton about Gomez Guadagno. I don't know, I haven't seen his stats or anything. But Eastep, he's much more of a defensive guy. Can hit for a little bit of pop and get on base, but he's not going to be your perfect blend of – his defense is better than his offense. And then Costello, I think it's a little bit the opposite, where he's probably a bit more of a blend, I would say, but he's much more offensive than defensive. Gomez Guadagno, I think he's gonna have a chance to go out here right away and play. Like, Eastep, I think, gives you the most confidence in managing the pitching staff because he's worked with so many of these guys and he's the oldest guy there. I could totally see Costello being a DH for this team. But I think if Gomez Guadagno has a good fall and preseason, he may end up winning the starting catching job. Like, right now, I put a lot into being a good defensive catcher more than anything, but I would pencil in Gomez right now to be the starter. I just think getting him here is such a big deal, and he's a switch hitting catcher. How often do you see that?
Not very often, man. No, I mean, it is. Again, I think the best part about it is him being such a highly touted recruit. He doesn't have to come in and be the guy right away. He can get his feet wet a little bit. Again, you have Bryce Eastep, who's, a senior and has been doing this at this level for 4 years now, 3 years, 4 years. And just Guadagno will be able to pick his brain on, all right, what, how to go about, handling the running game. I know guys don't really call their own game in college, but just being able to pick those things up. Costello's a daggone. I think I just saw today he's a Cape All-Star. He made the All-Star team for the Cape Cod. It's just going to be a nice healthy competition. It's just guys that are going to be competing for innings. Two, you're not going to have to run a catcher into the ground. Like, I think you're going to see a real back to, if Guadagno is the starter, he'll catch 35 to 38 games. And then you'll mix some guys in. Like, he's not going to catch every game, every weekend. Like, that's just, and he's not going to catch every midweek game. Like,
he's not doing what Talmadge Lecroy did this year.
Exactly.
Like, that should not be sustainable. But that was the situation South Carolina was in this year.
Yeah, so I think you're going to see its program be back to a normal program again. In that regard. So I like I said, it's a home run that they were able to get him that he's going to be on campus. All the potential's there. I've seen 1.8 to even lower pop times that I've seen. Take a little bit, when those things are happening at showcases, guys know they're throwing, so they're already kind of out of their crouch and getting rid of it. But it's still it shows he's got incredible arm talent. He's a switch hitting catcher. That already puts him ahead of some other guys. Is the fact that he can match up really well. It's just I think it is a great sign, and again a position that we have taught ad nauseum on this show for the last 2 years of being just either straight out bad or understaffed barring injury, of course, knock on wood, is in a great spot, going into the fall. And I think, we're going to see a lot of guys. And I still think they're going to get one more. I think they're going to bring in one more catcher.
I was going to say, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask you that. I think they still go out there and get one more catcher. I don't think I know South Carolina's not done in the portal because last week, they are still very much in on some guys. But the way this draft has gone, where you lose a few guys potentially, they have plans in place to go get more guys if some guys end up leaving for school. If three pitchers leave for the pros, they'll find 3 more guys to bring them in. But they also have really good pitching depth right now too.
Yes,
I will say this: catcher is probably you feel good. You feel really good about it now having 3 guys in there. But as we know from the last few years with South Carolina, guys get banged up all the time, and that depth can go real bad real quick to a point where if you lose one guy, you have 2 catchers left. You don't have an emergency 3rd catcher ready to go. So having someone in there, even if it's like a JUCO guy or some random small school, or heck, I highly doubt it at this point, but like a high school kid, bring him in. Like, I don't know what you do exactly, but you have a 4th guy just to be safe. Maybe have them plan to red shirt and then have them for the future, because you're going to lose E-Step probably after this season since he's a senior. So there's some things to think about there, but you definitely want to have 4 catchers, I think, on the roster. Beyond that, I think outfield, you're pretty much set. I think you have at least like 5 guys who can play the outfield, maybe more. There's a ton of guys that can play the infield and outfield. Infield, I think you have your starting group set. Like, I think it's going to be some combination of like Pat Evans at second, J.D. Stein at short, probably Walker Mitchell at third. And at first, you could put like Jackson Weiner or Garrett Mitchell or one of those other guys over there at first. I think you have a lot of options. Maybe Schaus plays first or Costello, who knows? But pitching, I think you're going to need to add a few more guys. I think you're in a good spot when it comes to depth, but losing pitcher for sure, potentially losing Phillips. I mean, you could lose Sutton, Hugas, and Whelan. I think the big contributors you're losing from that for what would have been 27 are Pitzer and Phillips. That's probably that's probably a starter you got to replace, and then a high leverage kind of guy. So will it be tough to find that in the portal right now? We'll see. But yeah, I think you still need to add, if there's any positions you need to add, it's definitely more pitching.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm with you. I think they got out of this draft unscathed when it comes to the position group. Maybe there's another guy they bring in. Like I said, I definitely think they bring in another catcher. Maybe there's another non-catching guy they bring in. Maybe they bring in somebody that can do both. Robert Berry came in as an outfielder and, ended up catching World Series games. So maybe they bring in a true utility guy that, can be an emergency 4th catcher if needed. Again, with positions, it's going to be a fun fall, because they're going to try guys out at different spots. I remember in 2010, Whit Merrifield played right field, left field, center field, third base, second base, all in the fall. And I think he did almost all that I think the only position he did not play of those in the season was left field. So, guys they're going to have guys in different spots. And I think that, those position battles are going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. I'm with you. I think the thing they're really going to focus on is pitching. Do you think they're going to end up adding any more, like, I know with the way the portal is right now, there's not a ton of like big names out there, but I guess my question to you is, do you think they're going to add like real impact guys out of the portal, or are they just going to try to fill in some depth now and hope that the guys that they got are their impact guys?
I think from a pitching standpoint, because it's interesting. Got some guys they brought in may seem like just filler, but I think they're going to end up having some guys of that nature be impact guys. Like I could,
okay,
for instance, I could see Andrew Koshi or Max. Again, I'm trying to pronounce all these names. I'm still not caught up on that. Max Bianchini.
Oh yeah, Bianchi, yeah.
Yeah, guys like that, you know, who else? Like Jordan Stevens, guys like that. Those guys, maybe those are like your depth guys that you brought in, but they may end up being high impact guys. That's the way things typically go, is that you bring in guys, you don't think they're going to be much impact guys because you have so many other players on this roster from a pitching standpoint. Then they end up being guys you need because someone gets hurt, they step up. I mean, all these different factors. So my point is, you bring in any more guys, maybe they seem like just added depth, but then they end up becoming guys that you're going to need down the road. So pitching's like the one thing I look at, like, yeah, like they may bring in more guys, but it's not like they're just going to be, you know, stowaways. Now, catcher, you bring in another catcher, I don't think you're bringing in that guy to start over Gomez or Costello or Estep. I think you're bringing in that guy as some insurance, essentially. Like if two guys go down, you have a guy ready. But I think pitching is like you're bringing guys to just have them there, and when their name's called, they come in. But like with catcher and these other spots, specifically catcher, I think you are getting a guy just to have some insurance. That way, you're just not you can't be carrying three catchers. Like one guy.
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's whoever they bring in. They're going to have a conversation with that guy, probably saying, our plan is to redshirt you. The only way your red shirt is getting burned is if we experience some injuries. And so that way, that guy, whoever it is that shows up, is fully aware, and they're not like, well, why am I not playing? You know, whoever they bring in for that fourth catcher spot, that's definitely going to be a conversation they have with that guy. And it's like, the plan is to redshirt you, and then, you know, we'll figure it out next year. You know, you get all the reps you can during the season. So, or, you know, during practice. But yeah, no, I like what you said about, you know, the impact guy could be somebody that we just see as filler right now, or depth. That's always the exciting part. And when you have a pitching coach that has the you know, pedigree or the resume that Matt Williams has, and, you know, the staff they've put together, you know, guys can take off that you just aren't, you know, you don't exactly have a magnifying glass on right now. So I love that side of it. Yep.
Yeah, totally. So I think right now, depending on which guys they actually end up losing, again, we'll know more here soon, probably, and we'll have that up on Gamecock Central. But I mean, I think they're going to probably add a few more guys. Like they're not done yet. They're not done. And, you know, 34 is the roster limit, but I mean, you can go over and have, you know, designated student athlete guys and all that. So we'll see. I mean, I'll be interested to see how many more guys they actually do end up adding. I think a couple, but I think overall, as we close out here, I think the draft went really well for South Carolina. They didn't lose. Like, they had 5 guys selected. Like, there's teams that are going to take much harder hits with the draft. Like your big time schools. And I think that's part of not being very good this past season. Was like, I mean, Amp, McCoy, and Philpott were the only guys drafted that were on this 26 team. They weren't very good, this team. So, and a lot of the guys you lost or got drafted are transfer guys that knows if they're even going to hit campus. So I think overall they came away pretty good. Getting Gomez to come to campus was definitely changed a lot of things. Like you won the draft not having him leave. But yeah, we'll end up seeing what guys actually end up going pro. So any final thoughts on just the draft, how things went, everything in general?
No, I mean, you know, I'm with you, man. The draft couldn't have gone better in terms of, you know, I mean, like I think what we talked about last week was the position player group was good, but if a couple guys went, it got thin fast. And it, you know, Guadino, Costello, those 2 guys, they're coming to campus. Connor Schaus, it's looking like more than likely coming to campus. And those are your 3 biggest recruits transfers that you got on this team for next year. So I think that, that in and of itself is a huge win. Losing some of that pitching depth is tough. But, again, the guys that I think I know I'm the most excited about got through the draft unscathed. So they're going to end up on campus. So like I said yesterday, I still feel like, the draft couldn't have gone any better for South Carolina. I wish guys like Amp and Tyler Pitzer, guys that I've actually seen pitch. I'm not mentioning other guys because I just haven't seen them pitch. But wish those 2 guys would have made it to campus, for this 2027 team that I think is going to be really good. But best of luck to Tyler. Assuming Amp's gone, best of luck to Amp. But yeah, man, you have a lot to be excited about for this team. Once the fall scrimmage schedule is down, I'm like going to try to plan a visit to come watch these guys, get on the field, because by the time we're down there for our Hall of Fame stuff, I know the fall is going to be probably over by that point.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe I can sneak on down there for a scrimmage or something, because I'm just super excited about seeing these guys. I think this team is built really well. I'm excited to see what this coaching staff can do with the team they've built. And there's just a lot to be excited about down in Founders Park in Columbia, South Carolina again.
Yeah, no, totally. It's going to be a very interesting fall, and we'll see. There's still a few more weeks until school gets going and these guys hit campus. And, we're still going to be on here talking about the Gamecocks. And hopefully next week when we get back on here, there'll be more portal action to discuss. I think this team's going to have a few more moves up its sleeve. I don't think the roster is nearly done yet. And
no, because you said they're at what, 31 now?
So if
everybody signs,
if everyone signs, they'll be at 28.
28. Okay.
If they all decide to stay in school, they'll be at 33. Now, if they lose like 3 guys from that group, then you're at 31 players. So
okay,
it's they're gonna.
So you got about five spots left. You got about 5 spots to fill.
Like realistically, if like 3 to 4 guys sign and Schaus is the only one to come back, then I think you have about 5-6 spots left to go.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it's pitching. 1 catcher,
yes.
Maybe 3 to 4 pitchers, and maybe you get another piece in the infield to round things out. But this roster, for the most part, it's pretty much complete. And, it's getting to that point where, okay, who fits where? I think that's a good topic for next week. Is we'll talk more about this team, what to expect, and maybe we'll start looking ahead a little bit to hopefully by then the roster will be basically put together. So appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Hope you all have a great rest of your day and a great week in general. For Gamecock Central, I'm Jack Veltri, joined as always by 2010 College World Series champion and former Gamecock right-handed pitcher Ethan Carter. Appreciate you guys as always, and we'll see you next week. Bye.